Hello and welcome to the live stream about Planeswalkers and their tier lists. And for you today, I have arranged all of the Planeswalkers. Yes, it works. Good. All of the Planeswalkers, and that is a lot. It is almost 300, I believe. So yeah, that is a lot. And I've put them all in here, so I will put the link down in a bit as well. I think you will enjoy making your own, maybe. But there's something you need. You need to put all the Planeswalkers in as well. They are on alphabetical order, which means you can find them like this. In Scryfall, when you just put in the creature type or the card type Planeswalker. And yeah, these are all the Planeswalkers that are here and that have been put online with just the Planeswalker site on the front. So creatures that become Planeswalkers I have got out of here. And then I have chosen to use these 6 levels. So just sauce, just for flavor, it doesn't do too much. Then we have playable, it is okay. Just an ultimate, some Planeswalkers, not this one, but some of them are just there for their ultimates. Then we have synergy pieces. These really work well in a strategy, but they won't win you the game in that strategy even. Then we have conditional bombs. In some strategies, these will win you the game. And then we have definite bombs, which will in any strategy win you the game. These are usually the most famous, and I think you will know those when you see them as well. But let's make some examples, because I think that's the most exciting way to do this. So Ajani, Adversary of Tyrants, is a 4-mana Planeswalker. Means it's pretty easy to play him. Right off the bat, his ultimate will never be used. You cannot really expect that as a strategy. He costs 7 loyalty, and then you need like 4 turns to get this online, and he doesn't get attacked in this scenario, which is really hard to do. So that won't happen. So is it the definite bomb? Probably not. The thing he does is he returns a creature card that is small to the battlefield, or he strengthens some of your creatures. But in that same manner, returning a creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield immediately at turn 4. Well, that can be something that could win you the game. So I think in this case it is not really a conditional bomb. It won't win you the game, but it is definitely a synergy piece. Now the color of the Pride, he also puts 1/1 counter on 1 creature. But I think this could be a bomb in some scenarios, but it is conditional on the part that you need a strong creature. You can make that on its own, but a flying double strike big creature can win you the game. So I would say this is a conditional bomb, because when he comes down onto the battlefield, he could win you the game in that sense, or at least deal a lot of damage doing so. Is just the name card has a life gain ability, which is not too strong. I wouldn't play him for that as a 4-mana card. But putting a +1 counter on each creature you control and giving them vigilance is very swingy. So that already makes him at least a synergy piece. Is his ultimate usable? This takes you 3 turns. Doesn't win you the game. No, it's just a big creature, so it stays at a synergy piece. Then we have the Inspiring Leader. 6 mana, and then he exiles a creature, is basically what he does. And that is a bit too costly. You would have to do that twice, and that will take you 3 turns, and that again is not very feasible. If at this point your game is at a stall, he will win you the game. But I think that makes him barely playable, in my opinion right now. Ajani, Mentor of Heroes, says distribute 3+1 count, so that is more than the other Ajanis have done up till now. And he says, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an aura, creature, or planeswalker card from among them and put it into your hand. So that is a lot of filtering, but you don't get to put lands in your hand, so it is most often a card that lets you draw one. I would say that's not even really a synergy piece. It doesn't really help you continue game plan. Well, it could if you have a +1 counter strategy, actually. With a few creatures, but not too many. That's really specific though. Is that really a synergy piece? You wouldn't use that, I think. So no, I would say playable at most. Ajani Sleeper Agent, a new one of course, with the completed mechanic that says you can play him for 3 as well, but then he enters with 2. That would mean that you would have to plus him first, and then you would have to defend yourself, and he doesn't defend himself. So that is out of the question. I would say play him for 4, and then you get to -3 to put 3+1 counters, so that's again pretty okay. And they gain vigilance, which is their reasoning for giving it making it a -3 instead of a +1. And sometimes you could draw a card if you know what's probably on top of your library. Ultimate takes 3 turns again, so not really looking at that too much. But could win you the game pretty fast, so that is something. I would say here, well, if you have a lot of creatures, then yes. Plus you can distribute them. Okay, I think that this makes him as well a synergy piece, I would say. Okay, we have Ajani Steadfast, 4 mana. Grow 1 and give them First Strike, Vigilance and Lifelink. That's very swingy and also protects himself a little bit. But doesn't really win you the game. It protects you, most of all. You can also put a +1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each other planeswalker you control. If we combine that with most other planeswalkers that we are looking at today, that is a very strong ability. And the ultimate, again, isn't really feasible, but protects you again a lot. So this is more protection, I would say. I would say more playable than really a synergy piece in that manner. Ajani, Strength of the Pride, lets you make 2/2s. I think that is a really strong ability. Because it's not just a 2/2, but it's also Ajani's Pride mate who grows with every life you gain, and then he can gain you life after with that. So it's definitely a synergy piece. And he could win you the game with his 0, which is immediately an ultimate, where you get to exile him and each artifact and creature your opponents control. So if you have a lot of creatures on your side of the battlefield, you can win the game immediately with that, but it is very conditional. Then we have Ajani the Great-Hearted, a 4 mana planeswalker that is also sort of an enchantment that gives your creatures vigilance immediately. I think this is better than the other ones in that way. So this immediately makes him a synergy piece for me. Then you gain 3 life, sure. Or put +1 counts on all creatures and a loyalty counter in each. So this is basically already better than the other one. I would say maybe... Which one was that? This one, right? No, huh? This? No, huh? I thought... What's this that? On these creatures they gain vigilance, yeah. Okay, so I would say because of that, I will put this down to playable. And then I will put this as a synergy piece. Ajani Unyielding, just play this over this. If you can, of course, the color matters. Reveal the top 3 cards of your library, put all non-land permanents revealed that way into your hand and the rest on the bottom. And that's a +2, so that might keep him in the game a bit. You can exile a creature, so this path to exile, which you can do twice, which is, I would say, actually it's not path to exile, it's a really cheap card, but I think that is worth 2 or 3 mana. And then the ultimate you probably won't get to. But I think this isn't really synergy in that way, is it? It's just removal, so it's just good and playable, but very playable. Should we make another one with... Yeah, I think so. Very playable. Let's make a new one for our guy, because that is pretty good. Alright. The Valiant Protector, he becomes a little bit more broad-shouldered. Put 2/+1 counts on up to 1 target creature, so he grows just 1. And then reveal from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So again, the same things Ajani always does, and the ultimate you will definitely never get to. It does give them trample this time, so that is better. But I would say just playable is fine for this. For 6 mana, it's just a bit too much. Target permanent doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step, so we can see here that he is Vengeant instead of the normal Celestia. Or he could deal 3 damage to target creature or player and you gain 3 life, so Lightning Helix. But that makes him very playable as a 4 mana card, I would say, immediately. Slowing a creature down, a bit weird on the Boros version of him, but I would say very playable because of it. Then we have Ajani Wise Counselor. Again, not... Well, could be ultimating this, because it's 5, then +2. You gain 1 life for each creature you control. You don't really want to do that, though. Creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. That is... going wide, sort of, but it's just a little bit too expensive. Is it playable? Oh, I would never. So no, I don't think that we should. No, just sauce. Okay, we move on from the Ajanis with that. So a lot of Ajanis here on the playing field. Overall, I would say Ajani, pretty good, needs to go wide, and that's it. Aminato just has 1, so that's a change of base, which is good. Take a sip of your drinks as well. Draw a card and put a card from your hand on top of your library. They can be a commander as well, so we need to take that in account. Draw. So let's say we can definitely build around her. Draw a card and put a card from your hand on top of your library. So switch cards with a card from the top, then you know what you will draw next turn, so you can do a lot with that. So that already makes her a synergy piece. Now you can also exile another target permanent you own, then return it to the battlefield under your control. So blinking, that's definitely sometimes a bomb if you have the right cards on the battlefield, and you will build around it. And then their ultimate is choose left or right. Each player swaps permanents, and if you play around this, then that is a bomb as well, but you probably won't get to that. But you have a Planeswalker as your commander, so you will probably want to protect her. But I would say sometimes a bomb, because she is the commander more than anything else. Angrath, though, gives your creatures menace. That is pretty good, but is 4 mana, then that is not really worth it. And you can amass twice, so basically a 4 mana 4/4 if you can protect him as well. And otherwise your creatures have menace. I would say he's uncommon as well, so if you take that into account, maybe playable, but I would say just sauce, as he's out of standard. Angrath, Minotaur, Pirate, a 6 mana legendary planeswalker from Rivals of Ixalan, I believe. They deal 1 damage to target opponent and each creature they control. That is borderline useless. Then they have a return target pirate card from the graveyard to the battlefield, so that is definitely a synergy piece. And their ultimate you will never get to. So next. Angrath, I know he is very playable. Each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. That is already not good enough yet. But this -3 is, I think, why you want to play him. You play him, you -3, and then later maybe you have your opponents discard a bunch until they attack Angrath. So I think he also is a very good coder in that way. Is he really a synergy piece though? No, I think this just makes him very playable. -8. I don't think it happens because you want to -3 with him too much. Arlene Court is I think she has to be a werewolf legendary all the time. Is this not a legendary? Oh? Huh? Arlene Court isn't a legendary planeswalker. That feels weird to me. But until end of turn, up to 1 target creature gets +2/+2 and vigilance and haste. Yeah. That seems useful, maybe. Well, it is useful, I know that, but I'm wondering whether I should count that as protection for her, maybe a little bit, if you have another creature and they have vigilance. But also, will you really use that too much? The other one is put a 2/2 into the battlefield though and transform her. So I think that is definitely... So yeah, I think, and I should also... No, I think immediately I haven't put the transformation in, to be honest. But I think we should look at it anyways, because otherwise this is definitely not too honest to her. I would put her up in level, but can we? Does this work? I'm not sure. Yeah, sort of. If we zoom in, is that better? Whoa, that's way better. That's so good though. I should just use Skyfall next time. It immediately worked. But okay. Wow, that's so cool. Oh, I really should do that. But then she gives her creatures +1/+1 and trample. So wait, it's a 4 mana 2/2 up to this point, right? Then she turns and she later can give your creatures +1/+1 and trample. She can deal 3 damage to target creature or player, and then she gets transformed back. And if you +1 her 3 times, that is borderline impossible again, you get an emblem with creatures you control have haste and tap to deal damage equal to their power. So that is definitely a finisher, but you probably won't get to that, because then you just keep strengthening your creatures over and over. But this could be a synergy piece, but it will not be about wolves too much, I don't think. If you just +1 and then keep -1ing, if you just 0 and keep -1ing, that is very worth it though. But is it really synergy? I wouldn't say it's synergy. I will say that's very playable though. The Pax Hope, the new one, just day bound, so that's easier. Oh, we should get Scryfall back again. Arlene, the back. Oh, there's 2. So, Arlene the Pax Hope, 4 mana, day bound. Does it work again? Oh, it works so good. It works so well. You create 2 2/2s for 4 mana. That is already better than the other one, I guess. But you do -3 for that. And the +1 is you may cast creatures as though they had haste, which works very well with the day bound. So that makes her a very good synergy piece already. And the other side, which you get once Daybound triggers, is a +2 that adds 2 mana, so that is very good. Until end of turn, she could become a 5/5, just like Gideon Sage. I think even the Daybound part seems better than the other one. But ramping 2 is not too bad either. It's just that Arlene doesn't really have an ultimate to use, but it does enable you to get to the 2 green wolves faster. Plus, I think a nice piece of flavor is this helps you get to night, because you play on other people's turns. And this helps you get the day because you can probably very easily double cast with the extra 2 mana. So that is definitely a synergy piece. A 2/2/2/2s is not really a bomb though. So this makes her a synergy piece. The Voice of the Pack gives each creature you control that's a wolf when they enter a +1, but she costs 6 mana. Her -2, which you can use pretty often, is to create a 2/2, but that isn't even really a synergy piece because she doesn't work with a strategy. It's just wolves, werewolves, and then a +1 counter. And I wouldn't even say it's very playable, to be honest. I would say it's playable in the werewolf deck. Ashiok Dream Render is a 3 mana Planeswalker that says spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause their controller to search their library. That's secretly very good. So I would already say with this, already very playable. And then you may have target player put the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard and then exile each opponent's graveyard. So that exiling is really strong against graveyard strategies. I wouldn't say that he can really be a synergy piece. He can be in the mill deck, but I would say, again, very usable, but not really a bomb, as in he doesn't win on his own. The other one, the Ashiok Nightmare Muse, so there are 3 more apparently. I would say this one does have a bit of synergy, doesn't he? So he creates 2/3 black and blue nightmare creature tokens with whenever this creature attacks or blocks, each opponent exiles the top 2 cards of their library. So that does work very well with the mill strategy because it's over and over. But then the -3 is returning a non-land permanent to its owner's hand, then the player exiles a card from their hand. That is a bounce and then a sort of discard, a better discard, I guess. Definitely seems like a nightmare people don't really like to have to exile from their hand. But the fact that they protect themselves, I think that makes them very good on its own. With the +1, it really protects him. So I think that at least makes him very playable, but is this... It's not really a bomb, he doesn't really win you the game on the spot. Maybe if they have 0 cards in their hand, then it might be a bomb because it's removal. And I don't really think it's a synergy piece, no. Because, yes, it works with mill, but that is a very slow way to mill, and mill probably wants to work with graveyard anyways. So, just very playable, I would say again. Then we have the Nightmare Weaver, exile the top 3 cards of opponent's library. So again, the milling thing, I would say, not too strong of a strategy in most decks to be exiling the cards. Put a creature card with converted mana cost X exiled with him onto the battlefield though. That creature is a nightmare in addition to its other types. So if you never exile something exciting, you might keep +1ing, but eventually this could bring you a new card from your opponent's deck. But is that good? It takes you 2 turns to protect him, so I would say that makes him a bit less playable than the other ones. Exile all cards from all opponents' hands and graveyards, so... Yeah, no, I would say just playable, because the upside isn't that high. The Sculptor of Fears weren't the other ones. No, I thought maybe this was a different version of something. I've never seen this one, actually. That's weird, but it is from Theros, apparently. Huh. And he's playing with Elspeth's Crown or something, I think. Draw a card, each player puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyards. So that is proper milling, I would say. That makes him synergy. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Though that is also very good, and you can probably do that next turn if you are able to protect him. So I think that is really dangerous, because that feels like an ultimate already. Definitely because there could be some really high-end cards in those graveyards, and in Commander definitely that is a must kill on site does cost 6 mana, so if your opponents keep attacking him and are able to, then that is really dangerous. So definitely play him in a mill deck that already likes the +2 ability. And then gain control of all creatures target opponent controls. That is a blowout if I've ever seen one, but you probably won't get to that. If you want to keep +2ing him and you are happy with that, I would say this is a very good card in those decks. And that makes him a synergy piece for those decks, I would say. I've never seen this, and this really stuns me, to be honest. Okay, let's move on to Basagi, Devoted Paladin, a 6 mana Planeswalker from one of the M sets, the core sets, which makes him weak already. But let's look at him with an open eye. Whenever a creature attacks this turn, put a +1 counter on it. He can do that right away. So that makes him worse than most Ajanis already. But put a +1 counter on up to 1 target creature. It gains vigilance, that is semi-protection, but Ajani used to do that as well, so still not putting him over him. And the ultimate is very hard to reach as a 6 mana Planeswalker that just +1s, and that takes him 3 turns. That's definitely not too easy. Then giving your creatures flying and +2/+2 is a game finisher in some decks, but I wouldn't say he's really a synergy piece for that, because you probably won't get to do that. So I would say he's worse than most Ajanis. I would say just sauce. Just sauce. Sorry. Basriket version 2? Is this version 2? No, it's from the same set. That is really weird. Is it the same card? No. No, it has 3 mana. Put a +1 counter on up to 1 target creature, it gains indestructible. That is almost as good, it's just not the protection part. Whenever 1 or more non-token creatures, that's better. Better than +1ing your creatures, I would say, is creating new 1/1s. In a good strategy, that could be really good. I think this already makes him a synergy piece. You will never get to its -6 though, so not really ever going to be a bomb, I would say. Maybe in some decks where all your creatures entering kill your opponents right away. Then maybe. Very conditional bomb though. So no, I would say synergy piece. Is the really cool one. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1, then put a +1 counter on each creature. Ooh, that's pretty cool. But I would say synergy piece is right for Basriket. No one that has really been a strong ultimate on their own, that we really wanted to put there. Up to this point, but I know there are some. Bob, which is Bevy of Beebles, a 5 mana Planeswalker, which is from a weird set. I know that's a little bit controversial, but when they enter the battlefield, create 4 1/1s. So that's 5 mana, create 4 1/1s. Maybe. Need to put the music on back on again. I see what happened. Need to scroll down. That's old school. Old school how that works. But okay. The number of loyalty counts on Bob is equal to the number of Beebles you control. So 4 at the beginning. Then the +1 is up to X target Beebles can't be blocked this turn. So you kind of protect them and you can still get in with the 1/1s. So 4 1/1 unblockables. I think that is a very synergistic card. If you get your opponents to agree, you can play this card. The -1 is draw a card. But -1, that I think that does mean, that you control a new, do you? Yes. So, oh, okay. So you create new Beebles, new 1/1s, I would say. That's a little bit weird, but we can only expect that. I think that is a cool design though. And I would say if you can get your opponents to agree with playing this, this is definitely a synergy piece in many decks. Going on to the Enchantment Man, Calyx, Destiny's Hand. 4 mana, look at the top 4 cards of your library, and you may put an enchantment card into your hand. So that's a draw one, that's okay. That makes him playable in those decks. Exile target creature or enchantment you don't control until target enchantment you control leaves the battlefield. I think that makes him really playable in those decks, I would say, because that's a good effect. Never getting to the ultimate probably, but return all enchantment cards from the graveyard to the battlefield. That is a game finisher, but I would say just very playable because of it. That's because I like him as well. Let's start with all the Chandras, and that's a whole row. So, first one, not too well known. Chandra Ablaze. Discard a card. If a red card is discarded, she deals 4 damage to target creature or player. That's a lot of damage. But does cost 6 mana, so that is not right away playable. -2, each player discards his or her hand, then draws 3 cards. Okay. I think that is a really good effect, that you have a semi-wheel, but also your opponents might lose some cards, and you as a red player will probably gain some cards. I think that's a good effect. And -7 cost any number of red instant and or sorcery cards from your graveyard. Ooh, that's a good finisher though. I think if you like discarding cards in your deck already, and you can protect yourself with it, then this is a good card, but it's not really synergy there. Just an ultimate, I would say. Yeah, because if you can protect her and you want to really get to the ultimate, I think that is good. But otherwise, she's not really that playable, I would say. Very dangerous card, but I think that is true for Chandra as well, as a person. Chandra, Acolyte of Flame, a 3 mana one. This is a fairly recent one. Put a loyalty counter on each red planeswalker you control. I think that is a really interesting thing, as we will see so many other planeswalkers. And I think it's really fun that they have made this sort of Chandra tribal sort of deck possible with these cards and also the artifacts that belong to her. So I think that could win you the game in some cases with some of the other planeswalkers that we'll see. Or you create 2 1/1s and they gain haste. And then you have to sacrifice them at the end of your next end step. So that is very synergistic with the damage doubler decks. The -2, you may cast target instant or sorcery with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard. If that card would be put into the graveyard this turn, exile it instead. I think this makes her very good synergy with the double your damage deck. Burn decks really love her. Is it a bomb? No, not on her own. And only when you have like a red planeswalker deck. Chandra Awakened Inferno. 6 mana, can't be countered. Thank whoever for that, because it's 6 mana. Each opponent gets an emblem with. At the beginning of your upkeep, this emblem deals 1 damage to you. So at your 6th turn, if you play this and you wait 20 turns in standard, you win. In Commander, you wait 40 turns after this, you win as well. So that is, I guess, a finisher. Or you can -3 to deal 3 damage to each non-elemental creature. That's a very small board wipe, but it's still a little bit of it. And -X to deal X damage to target creature or planeswalker if a permanent dealt damage this way would die. Exile it instead. Not the face though, I don't really think that makes her a finisher. If it was the face, then yes. If not, it's removal, which is still good, but not really winning you the game. Is it very playable? No. Playable though, yes, in ramp. Chandra, Bolt by Romancer. 6 mana again. I really don't like that that cost. I think it's really hard to be good at 6 mana in any format. To be honest. It's really hard. You need to be the best. You need to win the game. There are some cards that are 7 mana that win you the game, I know, but that's just because ramp in some things is really good, but then you need a really good finisher as well, because you can almost play every card in those formats. 6 mana, 5 loyalty, add 2 red mana, and they deal 2 damage to target player. I like that though. That's a lot. Not the 2 damage, but it does a lot with 2 mana as well. She deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker, so also can be removal sometimes at the -7, which is pretty easy to do, I guess. Because with the 2 mana, you can then maybe protect yourself a little bit or something. Deal 10 damage to target player and each creature and planeswalker they control. Yeah, I think that makes her playable, but not more than that. Okay, genre dress to kill. Less mana, I like that. Add a red mana, already love it. And she deals 1 damage to up to 1 target player or planeswalker. I think that's really good on its own. And then she has another +1, which I like because you only get to choose between +1s, and then maybe you get the ultimate or sometimes, so it's really good code in this way. Exile the top card of your library. If it's red, you may cast it this turn. Ooh, that's maybe a draw, but and if you're mono red, it's cast, play. No, play is better. Yeah, play is better. Okay, so not lands, but otherwise casting it. Okay, so it's maybe a draw. And then -7, exile the top 5 cards of your library. You may cast red spells from among them this turn. Cast again. You get an emblem with... I like emblems. Whenever you cast a red spell, this emblem deals X damage to any target for their mana value. Ooh, that is a finisher, but it's hard to get there. And she doesn't really protect herself either. But it is ramp. I think that makes her very playable, but it's not really a bomb on its own. It's also not just an ultimate because... yeah, no, that's not how you will win the game with this. Moving on to the Fire Artisan from Kaladesh. Yeah, this is Kaladesh, I think. Whenever 1 or more loyalty counts are removed from... I like this one, yeah. Are removed from her, she deals that much damage to target opponent or planeswalker. I really like that because at the least you can use her to eventually, if she's not removed either way, you can use her to deal 5 damage to your opponents. And I really like that for 4 mana on its own. But you also get to exile the top card of your library and you may play it this turn, so that it also helps you with the lands. So I think this is already very playable in that sense. Maybe more than the dress to kill, even. And then -7, which might be easy to do. Your opponents might not want to attack her because it will have you deal damage to them. Exile the top 7 cards of your library, you may play them this turn. But then you also lose loyalty counters and you get to deal 7 to someone as well. So I think this makes it extra strong. Is it a bomb though? I mean, they do have to attack it. And you do keep... that's hard. It's not really synergy either. Should it be something between these? Like a must remove or something. A might get out of hand soon. Yeah, let's call it that. I like that. Oh, but now you can see the cards under it. Oh, that's bad. Okay, no, we won't add any card here. Also, this will become a problem later as well. I just thought about that. Because these will increase in size. I haven't thought about that at all. But okay. Let's call it a... No. I think we should, as we will have this problem later anyway, let's add a row below here. And we'll give it another... this color. Yes. Sort of orange. And we'll call it must remove soon. Yes. No. Oh no. No. So. Oh here. Oh. What was this? Conditional bomb. Oh, and it stays there? Oh, this is really ugly. This is getting ugly, guys. Sorry. Must remove soon. And then we need to be able to put this on in the middle. Can we... Is it... This is... I hate this. Okay, I'm going to semi-fix this. Why is this? Huh? You can choose. Do you want this or do you want this? This is so weird. Why does it work this way? You have 2 choices between these. Oh. Okay. Just don't talk about it anymore. Okay, let's call it must remove soon, and then let's make this bigger, I guess. I really don't want to. Oof. No, I really can't. I can't make this bigger. Okay, we'll have to scroll a bit more, but that's okay. Here, you can see them still. Okay, let's move on. Chandra Flamecaller, a 6-mana legendary planeswalker. Create 2/3/1 creature tokens with haste. Okay. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. For 6 mana, I would say that is a lot less than the Dress to Kill one, which was very playable. Discard all the cards in your hand, then draw that many cards +1. Okay, so that's a wheel for 6. That's also not really something we really want to do, but you can keep doing that. So that is almost a must remove, actually. In a weird reason, we made this and now it really bumps her up. Or she deals X damage to each creature. So could be 1, could be 3, whatever you need. So okay, that's pretty good. Okay, if you are in a wheel deck, this is a must remove soon. But is it a conditional bomb? 6 mana is a little bit too much for that. I would say must remove soon, but it is a very high cost and you need to ramp out to it as well. This was a hard one. Chandra Flame Catalyst, 6 mana again. Why are all these Chandras so expensive? She needs to be flashy. I think that is it. Deal 3 damage to each opponent. For 6 mana, that's 2 mana. Maybe 3, because it's each opponent. You may cast target red instant or sorcery card from your graveyard if that spell would be put into the graveyard this turn. Exile it. Recursion for 6. If you can do this twice, that's very good. But if not, no. And you won't. I would say, actually, must remove soon is less good than Synergy Piece. By the way. As a whole. Because yes, you must remove them soon. But Synergy Piece means you have to remove them as well soon. To be honest. So. And let's change this color to also green. And then let's change this color to more green. Yes. I like that better. But is this a must remove soon? No, that's just value. Is this very playable? No, not really either. Is it playable? In a Planeswalker deck? In a ramp deck? Maybe it's playable. Flame's Fury, 6 mana again. Deal 2 damage to any target. That's just a shock. Deal 4 damage to target creature and 2 damage to the creature controller. That's like 4 mana maybe. Okay, so if you do that twice, then that's okay, but you probably won't. Deal 10 damage to target player and to each creature that player controls. That's 10 mana, but you will never get to there. No, it's not even playable, I would say. Heart of Fire, 5 mana, more doable. Discard your hand and exile the top 3 cards of your library and you may play them. 5 mana, ooh, that's a lot. But that's 3 and you have to discard your hand. If you have a discard your hand deck though. Hellbent deck, whatever, you really like this. As your top end. In that sense, playable, I would say. But not just sauce. It's usable, but not very playable. It's not that good, to be honest. Nadlar, deal 1 damage to target player. No. Deal X damage to target creature. 5 and then 6 to a creature. That's just removal. That's just 4 in red. Deal 10 damage to target player, but you will never get to that again. So, sauce. Novice Pyromancer, 4 mana. Elementals you control get +2 power. in elemental deck, I mean, that is usable. So playable, I would say, up to that point. -1 is add 2 mana. -2 is deal 2 damage to any target. The -1 is interesting. Adding 2 mana, that's a good mana rock. But would you want that 4 mana? No. Never. Sauce. Pyrogenius. 6 mana. No. 2 damage to each opponent. No. Deal 4 damage to target creature. That's 4 mana. Again, no. I wouldn't. Deal 6 damage to target player and each creature he or she controls. But you will need 4 turns. Board wipe and to 1 player. That might win you the game, but it's still very hard to do it. I would say no, because of the 6 mana. This should win you the game and it takes you way too long. Pyromaster, 4 mana, deal 1 damage to target player and 1 damage to up to 1 target creature that player controls. It can't block. Okay. Yeah, I like the can't block clause. Impulse draw, it's a 0. Exile the top 7 cards of the library, choose an instant or sorcery card, exile this way and copy it 3 times. That's a game winning one, I would say, maybe in the right deck. But dealing 1 damage to a player and 1 to a creature and they can block, that's very aggressive on a 4 mana. I would say no, I would like this ability on a creature rather than on a planeswalker, usually. So sauce. Sorry, Chandra. You're really not too good. You have way too many sauce. Way too much sauce. The 1 damage to target creature or player isn't really that good. On 4 mana, it's way too late for that. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell, copy it though. If you can keep the planeswalker around and wait to the -2 for your next turn, you can copy a really big spell. I think that is the thing we will need to look at here, because the ultimate is again not really usable. I think that makes this one playable. But it's almost must remove actually. But it's really hard to get there. No, I would say playable. It's really hard to get to that point. This one is very much known for standard plays. 4 mana. This add 2 mana is a +1 ability. That makes her instantly better than the one we put in the sauce earlier. Then the +1, exile the top card of your library. If you don't use it, deal 2 damage. That's a very good class on her as well. Deal 2 damage. I think that was on Ultimate on another Chandra before. -3 to deal 4 damage to target creature. That's removal. As I said, that's worth to me 4 mana, I would say, in red. And she is 4 mana, so this is indeed playable. Is it? Okay, wait, but I think you will use the +1s most often. And sometimes if you really need it, if you're really in a pinch, you need the -3. But meaning that you use the +1 a lot, I think that means you might eventually -7 her sometimes. And that says whenever you cast a spell, this emblem deals 5 damage to target creature or player. And that wins you the game really fast. So this is a must remove. It's not really a synergy piece. And is it a bomb? No, I think must remove is very, very honorable here. Because of her standard experience and how fearful I am of that side. And maybe also because I miss those times a little bit with when tournament play was so popular. Here we go. Comet Stellar Pup. This is just a dog in spades. He is 4 mana, and then 0 you get to roll a 6-sided die, so you don't get to choose what he does. But if these effects are really good, I'm willing to make him a definite bomb. 1 or 2 means he +2s, and you create 2 squirrels. They gain haste. So 30% chance you get 2 1/1s. On 3, which is 15%, you get to return a card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. If you don't have that, that's a blowout. 4 or 5, Comet deals damage equal to the number of loyalty counters on him to a creature or player, then -2, then -2. So that could be 5 damage if you play him and use that immediately. That's 30% for 5 damage, I think. I mean, that's a little bit more than 1 damage. That makes him a Chandra. And you may activate Comet Stellar Pop's loyalty ability 2 more times this turn and get +1 if you roll a 6. That makes all the other ones a little bit stronger. For the goofiness and the fact that you will have to discuss with your opponents whether you can play him, I will put him in playable. Otherwise, I would say this is very playable. It's actually pretty good. Deck Faden. 3 mana. Target player draws 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. For yourself, I think that is something you will like. Yeah. 3 mana for this effect is really good already, I would say. It is losing you 1 card, but you still have the Planeswalker in play. You can also gain control forever of target artifact. I think this is a really strong one. If you play him, gain control of a 6 mana artifact, that is a blowout. So already very playable, and maybe even, I would say, a synergy piece. And if we keep +1ing him, we might get to -6. You get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell that targets 1 or more permanents, gain control of those permanents. That is eventually game winning. So I think very mid-range, but more synergy piece than really it will ever be a bomb. Dagon Shadow Slayer, 3 mana, enters the battlefield with a number of loyalty counters on him equal to the number of lands you control. So could easily be 6 or 8. So could definitely ultimate and might even survive after that. Which says you may put an artifact card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. Okay, I get why that is so underwhelming, but it is a little bit sad. But I think this makes him still a conditional bomb because of the fact that you might have a very strong artifact and you will, in the deck that you play, deck on it. Plus, you can then keep surveilling with this +1 until you get to exile a creature again. I think this is a conditional bomb, at least, because you need the 6 mana, and otherwise I would put him in definite bomb, but you also need the right deck for this, so that is still a conditional bomb. Alright. The ready, Ingenious Iconoclast, 3 mana, I like that. It's 3 mana, 4 mana I think is the perfect thing for a Planeswalker where I feel like they will be strong. Put a +1 counter, I guess, put a loyalty counter on the ready. Put a 1/1 colorless construct artifact creature with Defender onto the battlefield. I think this is sleeper very strong in Defender strategies. Because they often also have a little bit of a sub-theme in artifacts. You may sacrifice an artifact to destroy target artifact or creature, so this can be really good in the artifact decks that want you to have a lot of artifacts to get into the graveyard to keep the engine rolling. I think this makes him very strong. 3 mana to remove something and sacrificing something in return isn't too bad already. And then -6 choose target artifact in a graveyard or artifact on the battlefield. Put 3 tokens that are copies of it onto the battlefield. That wins you the game, but you need to keep making 1/1s with Defender for it. Might be what you want to do if you need a lot of fodder. So I would say very playable. Because yes, it's removal and I think that is the best he will be. The ready? Whoa, he made such a change. It's the same guy. Really? Wow, he made such a change. But Scrap Savant, I remember this one, 4 mana again. I think there's really something about that mana. +2, discard up to 2 cards and draw that many cards. That is really good, because you get to choose what goes into your graveyard, and you get to filter through your deck and throw the useless things away, and probably you'll put a very good artifact into your graveyard as well with this. Then the next turn, you get the -2, which is really what you want to use them for. Sacrifice an artifact to return an artifact from the graveyard to the battlefield. That can be a 10 mana artifact if you want. I think this immediately makes him at least a must remove, and I think already makes him a conditional bomb if you have the card in the graveyard. Then the -10 is you get an emblem with whenever an artifact is put into the graveyard from the battlefield. Return the card to the battlefield at the beginning of your next end step. So that is a game winner again, I would say. And because he has a +2, that is very usable as well. I think we'll put him this hard. He's at least a conditional bomb. Let's say that, and we might have to return to him later. Daviel lets you discard a card from your opponent, and then he deals 2 damage to them. And then at the beginning of his opponent's upkeep, he deals 2 damage to them if the player has 1 or fewer cards in hand. So I think this is a guy that you, I guess, makes him very playable in the discard decks. 3 mana to discard 1. Would you do that? No. You would pay 2 or 1 mana. 3 mana to discard 2. Yes. Maybe. No, I would play 4 for that and draw a lot of cards for myself. Playable. Yes. A lot of cards will go into the playable or just sauce category, and most should be here. And then I think there are so many synergy pieces because that's just good game design. Okay. Other Daviel, Soul Broker, is a 4 mana. Oh, this is an online one. I don't like those. Let's move into the bottom. Diada, Binder of Wills, 4 mana. Up to 1 target legendary creature gains Vigilance, Lifelink, and Indestructible until end of turn. So in the right deck, this gives your creature Vigilance, Lifelink, and Indestructible. So that is a bit of protection. And it's a +2, which I like. It also could be a commander, which gives them the upside we've talked about before. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put any number of legendary cards from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Huh. So that's drawing you a lot for 4 mana. If you can get 2 cards out of that, that's worth it. Create a treasure token for each card put into your graveyard this way, so you at least get 2 treasures. Yeah, so let's say you draw 2, get 2 treasures. That's very worth it for 4 mana, because usually you need to discard cards for that as well. Okay, so that's very playable, but not really synergy. Gain control of all non-land permanents until end of turn. Untap them, they gain haste. That is a finisher, of course. I would say very playable. Don't have to remove it soon, to be honest. Okay. Domri, Anarch of Bolas. Creatures you control get +1/+0. That's a static ability for 3 mana. That's pretty fine. Add mana though, so also a mana rock. I think that makes him very playable. And then target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. So that's removal in a sense. I think it's playable just. Yes. Domri Chaos Bringer, 4 mana. Here we go. Add mana. Gives a creature riot. If you use the mana for it. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 creature cards from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. That's drawing a lot. So I think that puts him on the level of Diada almost. Not the treasures though, so maybe that's just playable. -8 4 turns. You get an emblem with, at the beginning of each end step, create a 4/4. And it's a piece with trample. Huh. That's inevitability, but not really a game winner on the spot. So never a bomb. Does feel very playable because of the -3, I think. Or no, it should just be playable, I would say. City Smasher, 6 mana, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste. For 6 mana, that's a little bit slow, actually. Deal 3 damage to any target. 6 mana, no. -3, that's way too much. Put 3 +1 counters on each creature you control, those creatures gain trample. That's just a Jani level. Just sauce. Domri Raid, 3 mana, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you may reveal it, so maybe draw. That's not good. Target creature you control fights another target creature. That's worth 2 mana. And you won't do anything else with him, probably. Well, you might maybe draw 1 or twice with him. You get an emblem with creatures you control have doubles. Okay, that's a game winner, but you never get to it. So just sauce again. Sorry. Dovins. The controlling type, which is a step away from Domri. You gain 2 life and draw a card. For 6 mana, that's not really value. Tap target creature, it doesn't untap. That's like 3 mana maybe. Tap all permanents target opponent controls and you will never get to use that, but that player skips their next untap step. Yeah, okay, that's a game finisher, but you will never get to that, so sauce. The real Dovin, 4 mana, here we go. Until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gets -3, -0, and its activated abilities can be activated. So that is protection. Gain 2 life, draw a card, is a -1 this time. Still not really value, but it's 4 mana this time, so that might be worth it. At -7, you get an... I think you will want to keep protecting him with the +1, so that's a little bit weird. And then -7 to get an emblem. Your opponents can't untap more than 2 permanents, because that is really backbreaking. But I think this barely makes him playable, because he can protect himself. Dovin, Grand Arbiter, 3 mana. Until end of turn, whenever a creature you control deals damage to a player, put a loyalty counter on them. So that might help you get to the -7 really fast with all the Thopters you create. Small spoiler, because the -1 is create a Thopter and you gain a life. -7 is look at the top 10 of cards of your library, put 3 of them into your hand and the rest of them on the bottom of your library in a random order. So that is value. I would say this makes him... I think Thopters are such a good token. And I'm a little bit biased because of my first deck being Breya. But I think that makes him a synergy piece to me. Because with the... I know how many Thopters you can have out. And that makes it very easy to ultimate with him in 2 turns. And that makes him, I think, a synergy piece. I think it's must remove soon, actually. Because of that, let's be honest with that. Because if you don't remove him soon, I will draw a lot from the top 10 cards of my library. Although that's a 4 mana spell, isn't it? Drawn from Dreams? Yeah, but still. But I will have so many. Yeah, it's at least not. I think synergy piece fits better actually here. because the drawing cards, that's not really synergy. That's just something everyone likes. Okay, no. Let's put them there and not think about it again. 3 mana to make artifacts, instants, and sorceries for your opponents cost 1 more. Okay, except against a creature deck that is really strong. Until your next turn, prevent all damage that would be dealt to and dealt by target permanent and opponent controls. If your opponent has 1 creature on the battlefield, that does protect him. I think this makes him playable in a stack. That does seem really strong though. Maybe very playable. 4 mana. Eliwick Tumblestrom. 4 loyalty counters. Has a frog, some fairies, and rabbits in the background. That is very important. Venture into the dungeon, and that can mean a lot of things, but I think that just means like scry 1, get a treasure, get a 1/1. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. If it's legendary, you gain 3 life. That is probably a draw. And might be a gain 3 life. Huh. Possibly a draw for -2 on a 4 mana. Not too good, is it? It is a little bit of fixing. With 6 cards, you probably get 1 and you can choose a bit. Huh. -7, which you won't get to. You get an emblem with creatures you control have trample and haste and get +2/+2 for each differently named dungeon you've completed. So, like, could be +8/+8, I think. And trample. That is a finisher eventually. Would venturing into the dungeon protect you ever? Not really, does it? Can this be your commander? No. No, I think this makes her playable in that deck. I think it is a bit of a synergy piece for the dungeons, but dungeons isn't really a strong archetype yet. Yeah, that's just... It's very playable in that deck, let's be honest. Yeah. I convinced myself. Elminster. Whenever you scry, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less to cast. Yeah, this is a synergy piece if I've ever... I mean, I built a deck with the guy. I can't say he's not. He can also be a commander, so he definitely has to be a synergy piece because you can build your whole deck around him. Then draw a card and scry 2, which means your next sorcery will be 2 less to cost. So that is already a very strong upside. If you can keep him around, I think that makes him a must remove soon on its own. And then the -3 is exile the top card of your library, and because you have scryed so much, you can create a lot of 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature tokens with flying, because the amount is equal to the card's mana value on the top. So you will pretty easily exile and remove forever 10 mana card from the top, and then you have a lot of 1/1s, and you will win the game with that. Does that make him a conditional one? As a commander, I know that you can very easily win the game with that, and I know that everyone wants to remove him right away and don't even want you to play it, because they know you have something big on the top of your library and you will immediately create all the 1/1s. I think it makes him a conditional one. Weird, but it's biased because I played it. Elspeth, Knight Errant, 4 mana, put a 1/1 onto the battlefield. That sounds a little bit sad. But it's a soldier, so that's a little bit of synergy. Target creature gets +3/+3 and flying though. And that is, I think this has actually been a pretty expensive creature before because of that +3/+3 and flying. And I think that gives it a little bit of an ability to become a bomb. But I know that other cards have done this and then have been like, give it double strike as well. I think we saw that with the Johnny before. -8, you will never get to that, but you get an emblem with artifact creatures, enchantments and lands are indestructible. I think still very playable, but it's a little bit overpriced. But it's very playable on its own. Resplendent, 5 mana, choose up to 1 target creature and put a +1 counter and a counter from among flying, first strike, lifelink, or vigilance. And I think this is a little bit underplayed, to be honest. Because, yeah, 5 mana, but then in 4 turns you give a creature flying, first strike, lifelink, and vigilance forever. And it is a synergy piece because of that with these counter type decks. So yes, I would actually say a synergy piece because of that. And so let's move it there. Like that. Look at the top 7 cards, you can immediately do this. Of your library, you may put a permanent card with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield with a shield counter. Ooh. Put the rest on the bottom. I think because of on the battlefield, might that be a conditional bomb in your small creature stack? 5 mana for a 3/3 with a shield counter though. That's not really what you want to do, is it? Maybe if you only put very valuable 3 mana creatures into a deck. In some formats, I can imagine how that can be an unconditional bomb even, but... And the -7 is in 3 turns. Create 5 3/3s just flying. That is a finisher. I think Synergy Piece is okay. I think it will not be a conditional bomb. No, Synergy Piece. Sun's Champion, 6 mana, put 3 1/1s onto the battlefield. 3 1/1s, that's better. But it's 6 mana, so again, I really don't like that. But that's a lot of 1/1s. And that's a lot of protection as well then. Destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater. I think this makes it synergy. Small guy synergy. You get an emblem. You won't get to that, but maybe, because you can protect her. With creatures you control get +2/+2 and have flying. If you have a token synergy deck, this is a synergy card. Elspeth, Sun's Nemesis, 4 mana, up to 2 target creatures you control. Each get +2/+1 until end of turn. That's playable up to that point. Create 2 1/1s as a 5/1, and you can escape her eventually. Very playable, maybe. The thing is, she never upticks, so I think that goes back to just playable. Yes. Okay. Just Terrell, you gain 1 life for each creature you control. Life gain deck could be good, but other than that, no. Put 3 1/1s onto the battlefield. Again with the 3 1/1s, but for 5, so maybe playable. Destroy all other permanents except for lands and tokens. Oh, you can very easily get to that though. I think this is just an ultimate. Get it onto the battlefield, gain a lot of life, and then it has to be removed, but just for the ultimate. So destroy all other permanents except for lands and tokens. In a token deck, this is just an ultimate card. Yes. Undaunted Hero, 5 mana, put a +1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Okay, that's an Ajani. Search your library and the graveyard for a card named Sunlit Hoplite and put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. What is that? Let's look for it. Tick. Sunlit Hoplite. Sunlit Hoplite. Here he comes eventually. On your turn, they have first strike, and with an Elspeth, they are a 3/1. I think this is from a like a battle deck or something. But no, that's just sauce, I think. Is it playable? Actually, it's 5 mana to put now. Will you ever get to the -8? Until end of turn, creatures you control gain flying and get +8 +X, where X your devotion to white. That is a finisher. 3 turns though. No, just sauce. Asteroid is a commander, so I think this usually just makes them a synergy piece already. But untap each enchanted permanent you control can be a game finisher, so I think that is a conditional bomb already. Create a white aura enchantment token named Mask attached to another target permanent. The token has protection. I think that's just a good soup. Put the top 7 cards of your library into your graveyard. I think you will keep +2ing her, and then it becomes dangerous, and then eventually you might -7 put the top 7 cards of your library into the graveyard and return all non-aura enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then do the same for aura cards. I think this means conditional bomb, but that would put her in must remove soon, so still conditional bomb. Freyalise, Lenoir's Fury, 5 mana, 3 loyalty, can be a commander, will make you 1/1 elves, destroy target artifact or enchantment, or eventually you draw a card for each green creature. That's not really synergy though. Elves? Elf synergy? 5 mana for elf synergy? If she's not removed, I think this makes her must remove soon and not synergy, so it isn't really a good commander in that sense. Beat me with it, I would say. Oh, this is an online card. I'm sorry. I tried to remove them before, but I have 3 now. 3 in the graveyard. Garruk, Apex Predator. 7 mana. +1, destroy another target Planeswalker. Okay, interesting, but +1, create a 3/3 with Death Touch is, I think, usually better. But if your opponent has a Planeswalker, this is a bit of an attack on them. Destroy target creature, you gain life equal to its toughness. Destroy target creature, you gain life equal to its toughness. Okay, that's pretty good. Target opponent gets an emblem with whenever a creature attacks you, it gets +5/+5 and gains trample. That's really harsh. I like that though. And you will want to keep +1 again. And that's protection, but he costs 7 mana. So I think this makes him still very playable because he's in green. And you can ramp up to him. Interesting because he's a core set card. But Garruk, Color of Beasts. 6 mana, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. Put all creature cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So maybe I think this will draw you 2, maybe 3 cards in your creature devoted deck, but you also have Planeswalkers, so 2 probably. You may put a green creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. I think that is the point here. 6 mana to do this though. Maybe if you have like an Ulamog, if that's your tribal thing. I think that makes him a bomb actually. Doesn't it? It's not must remove soon because it happens almost right away. I think this is a synergy piece because of it. If you have the Ulamog, then yes. But this is the bomb. Yes, I think that is a bomb, but you need a lot of mana. So that makes it conditional again. But it's almost like a definite bomb because of it, isn't it? I think it's conditional. Because of the amount of mana you need still, I will bump it down a notch. This one though, for the 0 creates you 2 wolves that if your opponent just attacks into them and you get to deflect all the rest of the damage, you get to make an emblem with +3/+3. If you have a sack outlet out, no, you still need 2 turns. So that would make him must remove soon, but I think the wolf part, no, you won't have black in your wolf deck. So 2 fodder to be removed, does that make him synergy? I think this should be must remove soon. Because otherwise the wolves will get out of hand, or you will be able to sack one, and getting an emblem with +3/+3 is really dangerous because emblems are so durable. So I'll put them in must remove soon. The Primal Hunter, 5 mana, create 3/3s as well. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. So if that's 3, that's pretty good. But if it's 10, that's very good. For 5 mana though, I think that's okay. But if you can keep him around, he protects himself. So I think it just makes him very playable. Could be a synergy piece to draw a lot of cards with very strong guys. No, I'll just make him very playable because of it. It might win you games, but there are better ways to do this. Garruk Relentless. Oh, and we need, I think, yes, to transform him. Garruk Relentless. Oh. Garruk Relentless. When he has 2 or fewer loyalty counts on him, transform him. Oh, interesting. So you don't really want to hurt him too much. Deals 3 damage to target creature. That creature deals damage equal to its power to him. Oh, so you can very easily transform him that way. With attacking a small creature. Okay, I see. Or keep putting 2/2s onto the battlefield. For 4 mana, I think we've seen that before. That was Arlinn Court, wasn't it? Yeah, here. So it would make him playable as well. But what is this? The Veil Cursed. Put a 1/1 with Death Touch onto the battlefield. That's a lot of hassle, and it takes you a turn. Plus you go... Oh, no, right. So here you transform him, you +1 him again a few times, and then -3 him, and creatures you control then gain trample and get +X, where X is the number of creature cards in your grave. Okay, so that makes me want to remove him pretty fast, I think. If you can get the counter off of him on your own, you can immediately do this. Then creatures you... Oh no, because you got a... No, you can't immediate... No, because then you need to proliferate him again. Okay, that's very conditional. No, let's not think about it that way. Creatures you control gain trample and get +1/+1 until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures cards in your graveyard. That will be like... You're dedicated here. So let's say you get +10/+10. And they can trample, so that's a finisher, I guess. But that's pretty hard to do. I won't say that's something that will happen. This is very complicated. 4 mana for 3 damage is not good. Creating the 2/2 and then... No, I think you want to transform him right away and then start making 1/1s, and then you want to -3 to finish the game. I think that just makes him playable, to be honest. That's a lot of hoops. Too many hoops. Savage Herald, 6 mana. Reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it into your hand. Okay. Maybe draw on 6 mana. Otherwise, put it on the bottom. So yeah, maybe draw for 6 mana. It's not really that good. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to another target creature. That's just 2 mana. Value. Ultimate, which you won't get to. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain. You may have this creature assign its combat. Okay, so that's a finisher, I guess, but no. That's not good. That's just sauce. Garruk Unleashed, 4 mana. I like that. But it's from a core set, so I like it less. 1 creature gets +3/+3 and trample, so that's 1 mana. Maybe 2. Create a 3/3 for its -2. Then if an opponent controls more creatures than you, put a loyalty counter on Garruk again. So that's just the -1. -7, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your end step, you may search your library for a creature card. Okay, but you won't get to that because he doesn't protect himself. Is it playable? No. Not at all. Wild Speaker, 4 mana, untap 2 lands. I think that is a very strong one, but usually 1 is enough, so it doesn't really make him better than a Kiora, I would say. But does make him very playable because this could be a combo. Put a 3/3 onto the battlefield, that's just Garruk. Creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample. Until end of turn. Okay, so that is an overrun. Does take you a bit though. I think this makes him very playable because of the untapping 2 lands, but I think that is his stronger stability as well. Gaia Drone cannot be your commander. I thought she could. Protection from permanents with corruption counters on them, so she protects herself, I think. Each opponent loses to life and you gain to life. Put a corruption counter on up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. Yes, so she protects herself a bit. So that might get out of hand pretty soon. Gain control of target creature or planeswalker on the end of turn. Untap it and put a corruption counter on it again. It gains haste. That's worth a mana too. Probably. Gain control of each permanent with a corruption counter on it. I think you want to +1 every time and keep making all those creatures useless against her. And that will take a bit. But in these Grixis decks, I think she becomes very playable. But it's a choice. It's not really something you will want to do in every deck or something. And she doesn't have a home where you need her. Gideon, ally of Zendikar, 4 mana. I miss some boy. He becomes a 5/5. That is all he wants to do, is get in for his own damage. You can immediately -4 this one though. To get an emblem with creatures you control, get +1/+1. And that is not removable at all. So I think that is interesting. So yes, I think that is pretty strong on its own. And if you have +1 him, you can then keep creating 2/2s. I think this makes him almost a synergy piece even, but I am very Gideon informed, Gideon inclined. Gideon Blackblade is a 3 mana card that always does that 4/4 thing. As long as it's your turn, he becomes a 4/4 and prevent all damage that would be dealt to him because he's invincible. Up to 1 target creature also can get Vigilance, Lifelink, or Indestructible onto end of turn. So with the Vigilance, he also protects himself as a Planeswalker, I guess. And then eventually you get to exile 1 permanent. For 3 mana though, that's pretty good. And the 3 mana 4/4 is not bad, but it just makes him playable, I would say. Yeah, it's not the counters either, so playable. Is it very playable? Yeah, it's Gideon, come on. This is the problem with Planeswalkers. People will get angry at this. Gideon, Champion of Justice. I think we'll just do Gideons for today and then I'll go to sleep here. It's a very noisy place here and other people will not like this too much if I keep talking around here. But Gideon, Champion of Justice, 4 mana, put a +1. Put a loyalty counter on him for each creature target opponent controls. Your opponent needs a lot of creatures to be able to ultimate him with a -15 though. No, because then if they have that many creatures, how will you protect him? Not. Until end of turn, he becomes a human soldier with power and toughness equal to the number of loyalty. Oh, he can become a very big guy. On him and gain Indestructible. He's still a Planeswalker, prevent all damage that does out to him. Okay, so against all your opponent's jump blockers, you can have like a 12/12. No, it's not really playable. To be honest, that's not really playable. That's just sauce. Sorry. Gideon Jura, 5 mana. During target opponent's next turn, creatures that player controls attack Gideon Jura if able. Ooh, that's a goat ability. That's a cool one, but it's against your Planeswalker. I don't like that. Destroy target tapped creature. Well, if you survive that, Gideon. Until end of turn, he becomes a 6/6. I think this might have a place, but it just makes him playable in those decks. Because 5 mana is a lot for such a good ability. Gideon, Marshall, Paragon, 5 mana. Untap all creatures you control. Those creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. That's a weird one. Is this a battle deck again? Until end of turn, he becomes a 5/5, of course. Creatures you control get +2/+2, but you will never get to there. Tap all creatures your opponent controls. So that is a finisher, but you will never get there. But untapping all your creatures, I think that could be playable in a Timmy deck. In a ping deck, that's what I mean. Playable just though. 5 mana is a lot. Gideon of the Trials, 3 mana. Until your next turn, prevent all damage target permanent would deal. That is worth 3 mana, yeah. Until end of turn, he becomes a 4/4. You get an emblem with, as long as you control a Gideon Planeswalker, you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. So that is Gideon Tribal in a way. And I like it because of it. I think that makes him barely playable. but your opponents will have to attack him every time and he can protect himself pretty easily. So yeah, I might save you sometime. Gideon the Oathsworn, 6 mana whenever you attack with 2 or more non-Gideon creatures. Aww. Why? Put a +1 counter on each of those creatures. Each of those? So all of them. Oh, that's a static ability though, but it's 6 mana. Until end of turn, he becomes a 5/5. And that's a +2. And then exile Gideon, eventually. And each creature your opponents control. That is a game-winning piece. But it is a very bad one. I think this is just Sans again. And that was it for this bit. I think we got to almost half. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I like that. So thank you for watching. I want you to have a nice day. I will do so as well. It's a little bit left for me. But anyways, this is what we got. Up to this point, no definite bombs yet. Are they in here? I think they probably are. I see one here. I see this one here. Yeah. I think there are not too many definite bombs that are a bomb in every deck or something, but they are there, I believe. And